Liaison and Outreach Manager at Middlesex. So I'm just going to go through a few housekeeping kind of points and rules, I guess, just so that we all know what's happening today. So firstly, we're going to ask that you kindly keep your mics on mute while we present. If you've got any technical issues, there is a chat. So if you kind of hover either at the top or at the bottom of your page, you should be able to see that there's a chat function, and you can just pop it in there, and my colleague Sophie, who's also on the call, will be able to help you. You're welcome to have your cameras on, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So we are recording this, so by all means, if you're not happy to kind of show your face, that's absolutely fine. So in terms of any kind of questions and answers as well, we've kind of left time at the end to have a discussion. Having said that, there's a few bits that are kind of interactive throughout the session. So if you want to unmute your mic or just put some questions in the Q&A section in the chat, that's absolutely fine as we go along. Yeah, we really wanted to encourage discussion, especially with this type of session around health and well-being. It's something that's obviously quite important at the moment and quite an issue for a lot of people. We are also doing a session around health and well-being for students, but we really wanted to kind of address some of the things that you might be feeling, or we are feeling at the moment, for yourselves, and to kind of help you as individuals. So we'll start now. So just trying to get my thing to work. There we go. So looking after your own health and well-being. So today's session, what we're going to be doing is we're going to kind of firstly talk about what I call the difficult bit, which is the current situation, how we might be feeling at the moment. Then we're going to kind of go on to talk about what we can do about it. So what are some of the kind of tools we have? What are some of the suggestions and tips and things that we can do to try and deal with maybe what we're feeling at the moment? Obviously, it's not a time like any other. It is a really difficult time, and I think people are feeling things that they might not have felt before. Sometimes it might be triggering kind of some anxiety and things that you might have not had for a little while, and then actually this has kind of brought a lot of things up. So it's a chance for us to kind of think about it and talk about it and come up with some kind of ways that we can help ourselves. So first things first, the current situation. So I wanted to talk about some things that might be issues that you're dealing with, might be issues that maybe people are dealing with at the moment, maybe your students or your friends and family. I think we're all missing our friends and family at the moment, and we are struggling to kind of balance and get used to this new way of working, not seeing people face to face. I know especially our team, we're very used to kind of engaging with people on a face-to-face basis. We go out and talk in schools and colleges and meet with teachers and careers advisors all the time. So actually for us, talking to a computer screen is quite difficult. So I think that's something that, is definitely something that I'm feeling, and a lot of people I know are feeling at the moment. We aren't able to do a lot of the things we might normally enjoy. You might be somebody who goes to, a tennis club, or you might go out and see your friends at the weekends, and that can be difficult. I think also we're all stuck at home, so that can cause some tensions and some issues as well with whoever it is that you live with. Lots of things have been cancelled. I was due to get married this month, and actually that's not happening now. So, I know what that can feel like, and I know that there's a lot of uncertainty about when things are going to get back to normal. A lot of people, I've put homeschooling in inverted commas because it's not really homeschooling. We're kind of all muddling through and just trying to cope as best we can with educating children at home and making sure that, they're doing something with their day. And that can be really tricky too. And there's also, financial difficulties and job insecurity. we're really lucky at Middlesex, you know, our jobs are safe, but not everybody is. And you may have partners or family members that maybe are struggling financially and or their job is at risk. And that can be a real worry at this time. So yeah, lots of difficult things going on and lots of things that we might be feeling. So I've put on here, there's 18 kind of emotions and feelings that just kind of came to my mind and things that you might be feeling. So I wanted you to have a quick look at this kind of list of words, and let me know how many of these in the chat, how many of these you're actually feeling at the moment. So, you know, whether you're feeling tired or stressed, maybe have a little look over those. You'll notice that I've put a couple of positive ones in there because you may well be feeling there may be some positive aspects to the current situation. I know I normally commute quite a long way. It's about an hour and 40 minutes each way to my work. So for me, that's actually a positive. So one positive thing that I've you know, experienced is that actually I've got a little bit more time back, but there's obviously lots of negative emotions and feelings as well. So maybe if you could put in the chat section anything that you're kind of, maybe you're feeling all of these, maybe you're just feeling some of these. So maybe if you could just share that would be great. So the Zoom group chat, you can just go to the top and then you should be able to find it if you can't find it. All 5, yeah. And say I'm feeling about 10 of these. 6, yeah. Well, you know, it might be that, you know, you feel a number of these today. It might be that over the last, you know, 6 to 8 weeks, you've felt a myriad of these different feelings and emotions. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of get a feeling for how many people are also, you know, struggling with lots of these issues. I think we're all feeling quite up and down, overwhelmed, anxious. I think, you know, a lot of us are feeling that actually there's a lot of, you know, a lot of negative stuff out there at the moment, and it is quite difficult to deal with. But on the positive side, yeah, we get to enjoy some time with our loved ones that maybe we wouldn't normally. Maybe you're getting to spend more time with your children than you would normally. I really enjoy kind of getting the opportunity to have lunch with my partner every day, which is not something we would normally be able to do. So there are definitely some positives that we can draw on. Any other positive emotions then? We've kind of talked about looking at some of the negative and some of the kind of struggles we're having. Has anyone got any positive things that they're also finding with the current situation? No? Enjoy the weather. Yeah, I mean, so I'm really lucky. I know a lot of people aren't as lucky as I am, that I've got a garden that has really been able to lift my spirits. I've been kind of doing a bit of weeding and things like that I've never really done before. I know for a lot of people they're in a kind of flat situation and maybe haven't got any outside space, and I'm sure that is really difficult. So there are definitely things like that. Actually, if you can enjoy the sunshine and nature, I know a lot of people are enjoying nature a lot more, and taking the time to kind of soak it all up. Getting your house in order is definitely something that a lot of people are doing. We've done a bit of painting and decorating while we've been on lockdown. And I think the NHS clapping, for example, is something that is really positive and actually has made a lot of people feel really good inside, and that community spirit that someone just said about is, you know, actually that feeling of solidarity is something that we can hold on to and say, actually, that's something really positive that's come out of the whole this whole situation that we've been in. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. So this is the kind of beginning of talking about the sorts of things that we could potentially do to help us with some of these kind of things that we're dealing with at the moment. So one approach is emotional acceptance, and I think it's something that isn't kind of necessarily something that everybody has tried. So it might be something that maybe you could give a go if you haven't already. So we often try to avoid, ignore, or get rid of negative emotions and feelings because they don't feel very good, they're quite difficult to live with. So we often try and kind of push them away and try and get rid of them or ignore them. And it can help in the short term, but what we often find is that it can cause kind of, if we're trying to internalize that all the time and we're not kind of trying to deal with it and accept it, we can find that actually that causes more problems in the longer term. So one way that we can try and cope with our emotions, negative emotions and feelings, is actually to try and accept it, and actually kind of learn to live with those negative emotions and acknowledge it, absorb it, and just give yourself the opportunity to be with that emotion, even though it's not something that is pleasant. Actually, if we can start to sit with it, you can find that sometimes it kind of dissipates, and actually we realize that it doesn't have that destructive power that we think it does, and actually we can kind of cope with it, and it kind of shows us that actually we are able to cope with negative feelings more than we maybe thought we could, rather than pushing them away. So this is just a kind of one approach. I have got the quote, or where it came from, underneath. It's a bit hidden underneath there, but when we send around the slides, you'll hopefully be able to see that a bit clearer, and you can look into that a little bit more as a kind of psychological theory and approach to accepting your emotions. So that's something that might be worth trying. Has anyone tried anything like that before? Kind of looking at how you accept your negative emotions rather than trying to push them away. No one yet? So yeah, feel free to put more in the chat as we go, if it is something, if you've got a question or anything like that. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. So the other thing to talk about is expectations and reality. So at the moment, there is an expectation that we need to be productive, we need to be learning languages, we need to be getting fit. These are all things that are obviously great if that's something that, you know, you're taking this opportunity to actually focus on something. But we need to remember that, you know, what's most important at the moment is looking after ourselves and actually just kind of getting through and surviving. Some of us really, you know, we're not in the right headspace to try and learn something new and be really productive. You know, it might well be that that's given you the jump start and actually it's something that you wanted to do, which is brilliant. But if you need to just take a break and actually just kind of get through and cope with the current situation, then that's what you should do. And I think it's important to say that we are all different and we all cope with adversity in different ways. And actually there are a whole range of different things that we can do to help ourselves. And it is just about finding what works for us. And hopefully through this session, you might get some ideas and thoughts of things that you could try if you haven't found what works for you yet. Or maybe you've found a few things that work and you want to kind of find out a bit more about things that, you know, other people are trying. I think this is a great opportunity for that. And actually, if, you know, anybody has any ideas about things that help them, it would be great if we can share it in this space. So the next thing to say is thinking about moderation in terms of the things we're doing that maybe aren't so good for us, especially. So I know a lot of people are drinking more alcohol than they would normally. A lot of you hear a lot of people saying that actually they're drinking every day where they wouldn't normally. And you know, I think there's probably a whole host of reasons why that is, but we need to bear in mind that actually alcohol does have this effect the next day, especially it dehydrates us. And actually when we're dehydrated, you can find that it exacerbates anxiety. So Drink lots of water, especially if you are, drinking alcohol in the evenings. Do try and keep up your fluids and keep up your water intake, because you'll find that actually if you're not drinking enough water, it can make you feel quite a lot worse. So that's something to say. Also thinking about kind of consuming consciously. Don't watch the news all the time. Don't try and kind of look at the news on your phone and look at social media and what's going on all the time. I think it's important to kind of set your own limits on what you think, how much is a reasonable amount to watch the news or to look at your social media, so that you don't feel too overwhelmed by everything that's going on and everything that everyone else is doing, because it is about you and making sure that you're doing the things that are better for you and that actually help you along the way. See if there's anyone that's commented anything else. No? Okay, so I'll just move on to this next slide. So this is a kind of I guess a practice that can be useful for all different scenarios, but in particular I thought it might be useful for the current scenario. So what you can and can't control. So this is you can kind of draw this on a piece of paper, 2 circles, and you put in one what you can control about the situation, and in the other what you can't control. So for example, with coronavirus and the current situation, what I can control is I can make sure that I'm washing my hands regularly. I can make sure that I'm only going out when necessary, and things like that. In terms of what I can't control, things like, when social distancing measures will end or when a vaccine will be available. These are things that I can't control. And actually it really helps you to kind of get clear in your mind and focus on the things that you can do rather than the things that you can't, because often our worries are around things that we can't control, and it's just a waste of energy. And actually, if we can try and get down on paper and try and get clear in our thoughts what we can and can't control, that can be a real benefit to us. So I just wanted to share this practice with you that you can kind of take away and use in all different scenarios. Does anyone think that might be helpful for them? Maybe they think that they often worry about things that they can't control. No? Okay, I'll move on. Feel free to put anything in there as we're going, and I will have a quick read as I'm going through, and so will my colleague Sophie. So one other thing that I thought might be useful as well, I've just got, yeah, oh good, I'm glad that was helpful. Yeah, absolutely. So one more thing, so desktop yoga. I've been trying to do a bit of Pilates myself, which I haven't done for a long time. But this is something that actually anybody can do, and it will really help to get your body moving and get the blood flowing. Even if you're not able to do any kind of proper physical exercise, actually this is something you can do while you're sitting at your desk. Throughout the day, you can maybe do a couple of exercises at a time, just to give yourself a few minutes away from the screen or kind of not focusing on work. So I thought I'd do a couple, and you can do it along with me. I'll try and move back because I haven't got a lot of space. So yeah, the spinal twist, when we're just going to twist the spine and move our body around like this as much as you can in whatever space you have. And it feels really good, and you'll feel that actually your energy levels really go up, and you feel that actually you're getting some more oxygen in your body and things like that. So side twists, we can just lean down to the floor. So put your hand up and then your other hand going to the floor. And then we've got some knee squeezes. So I'll put one knee up and then another knee. And you can work your way around them. So I'm not going to do all of them, but I think they're definitely worth a go. If you haven't done something like desktop yoga before, let me know what you think. If you think that actually this might be quite helpful for you, just to get you moving a little bit. And they're quite simple exercises, so a lot of us should be able to do these. And actually, maybe if you could go around and do, you know, all of them throughout the day, every day, just to get you moving. Yeah, so desktop yoga is a really easy way to get you moving when you haven't maybe moved a lot. Maybe, you know, you're not able to get out and about. It's just a way to actually kind of allow your body to get moving. Yeah, absolutely. Getting fit while we're working. Yeah, so I'm just going to move on to the next slide. I can see, I think Jeffrey's raised his hand. If you wanted to say something, that's absolutely fine. You can unmute your mic. No? No, okay, no worries. So yeah, and my colleague Sophie has just said that actually this is something we recommend in our presentations to students, because we do a session on revision and relaxation. So one of the things that we recommend is really kind of getting your body moving, doing things like desktop yoga. This is something that actually we do in the session on revision and relaxation, and we find that students really kind of respond well to that. No worries, we're still getting used to the technology, so don't worry if you accidentally press something, we'll just move on. So I wanted to also look at a few book suggestions. So these are ones that, the Book of Joy and Dare are ones that I personally recommend. They're ones that I've read and that have really helped me. And then the other one was a recommendation, The Good Vibes, Good Life, from a colleague of mine. So in terms of the Book of Joy, so it's really about kind of, and it's interesting in that it's slightly different to a lot of other kind of self-help type books, in that they really talk, and it's quite funny, and they have some really good conversations. It's the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu coming together and looking at kind of humanity and what makes us human and how we find joy in suffering. And I think in particular at this time, obviously I don't know what you're all going through, but we're all going through different things, and actually it can be something that could really bring some joy to your life. So I really would recommend that book. And they look at, you know, rather than focusing on ourselves all the time, that actually we should be focusing on helping others and what we can do for other people, and how that brings joy to us by kind of looking outwards rather than always looking inwards. So that's an interesting one. Dare is a book that really helps with anxiety and panic attacks. So it kind of is linked to something that I discussed earlier, which was the kind of acceptance of our emotions and feelings. And it really looks at kind of the biology of anxiety and the feelings that we might have, and then kind of focuses on this dare response, which is how you respond to those negative or kind of anxious feelings, to try and help you live with it, rather than, again, not trying to push it away, but trying to actually accept it as part of us, and part of a kind of a natural response of our body to something that we're thinking is going to happen. So that's quite interesting. Good Vibes and Good Life was a recommendation. So again, I don't know loads about that book, I haven't read it, but maybe have a look and see if it's something that you think might be helpful. Does anyone else have any kind of book suggestions that are linked to health and well-being, and anything they'd like to share in terms of things that have worked for them, either a book or something else? No? Feel free to put something. I know I'm going quite quickly, so feel free to put something in the comments if you think of it. Reading something funny is a really good idea. So yeah, sometimes we just need to kind of, or I know that comedy shows were one of my favorite things to do before we all got stuck inside. So actually maybe just watching a stand-up comedy or a comedy film, or reading something funny. Music, as a team, our marketing team all share kind of songs every day that get us through, you know, like, so we'll have a morning song to get us going, and then an afternoon song to chill us out, so that can really help. Someone's recommended Rising Strong by Brené Brown, which is another one that you could definitely look into. I think sometimes you want to return to something that you've read lots of times that you really enjoy. And I think it's the same with films. You know, if there's, for me, when I was ill, I'd always like to watch Disney films when I was younger. So maybe that's something that I could try and could make me feel better. And inspirational films, absolutely. And I think the same with inspirational books. I mean, I'm reading a book called Choice at the moment. And it's by, she's a chartered psychiatrist, but she actually was a survivor of Auschwitz. And it's really uplifting, and actually really interesting. It's a bit of a kind of biography as well as a kind of novel. So that's something, unfortunately I haven't got the author's name, but it's called Choice, and I'd really recommend that. But yeah, absolutely. Inspirational films, reading kind of books that make you feel good. I think they're all good ideas. So as I said, I don't think we should all be forcing ourselves to try and be really productive and do lots of things, but I wanted to suggest this health and wellbeing bingo with lots of kind of things that you might want to do. These are just kind of ideas that I came up with, things that we could try, or you could try doing, you know, while we're in this current situation. But you could take this and put in the things that you want to try or the things that you want to do. And then again, you can kind of put your own timelines on it. So you can say, I want to do at least a line by the end of this week, or I want to, you know, do a line by the end of the month, or whatever it is, or you want to try and do all of them within the next 4 weeks, or whatever it is. But just as a kind of, I think, a way to focus your mind and to focus your energies, this could be something that helps. Again, I think it's important not to put too much pressure on yourself, but absolutely, if you feel like actually having some set things that you want to achieve would help you, then absolutely this might be the way to go. So I just wanted to leave that there as well. Does anyone have any that they would add to the kind of bingo sheet, things that they would really like to do? You'll see that I've got some in there that are things like have a duvet day, or do nothing for 10 minutes. So some of these are obviously kind of actually more geared towards doing very little rather than trying to be really proactive. Having a long soak in the bath, you know, these are the kind of things that actually are not, you know, they're not anything that's really active and, you know, you've got to really work hard to do. It's just taking some time out for yourself, which is really key when we're going through a difficult time. Okay, so I haven't had any more in the chat. Did anyone have anything? So that's kind of the end really of the session. I just wanted to see if anyone had anything to share, any thoughts or anything that they'll take away from today. If there's anything in particular that you haven't really thought of and that you think might be helpful. And you can unmute your mic or you can just put it in the chat. Enjoying doing Zoom quizzes with family members. I think that's, yeah. That's a good idea. I haven't really done many of those, so that might be something that I could try. I think definitely IT is difficult. I think we're all having to get used to you know, using IT, and it's not, I'm not really technically minded. I'm really relying on team members to really help me because it's not something that I'm used to. I'm very much a face-to-face person. So yeah, we are lucky we have people within the team that can support with IT. So I think it is just a case of, you know, getting help where you can with stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I think lots of people are struggling, and I know, you know, I've spoken to lots of people, colleagues, friends, family who have various things, and I'm trying to kind of, I think we're all trying to help each other at the moment, and I think, you know, that is a good thing. We're all kind of in the same boat, and we're all trying to support. I know a lot of you will be trying to support your students who are also likely to be struggling, and you know, they obviously don't necessarily have the tools to cope with this kind of situation. So we really do feel for everybody at the moment, especially young people who will be and are in a very difficult situation at the moment. But it's important that we, obviously, yes, we want to look after our students, but we also need to look after ourselves, and that's really important, ourselves and our family. Just having a read through the points. So catchphrase sounds really fun. I really like watching catchphrase on TV, so that might be something to try. And also we did in a quiz we had the other day where you have to collect things from around the house and whoever's quickest wins and that kind of thing. So you can kind of play fun things with friends or family. And yeah, the bingo, maybe give that a go. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up because I'm sure lots of you will want to get off and have some lunch. But thank you ever so much for listening. We will be sending round the recording round to you. So if you want to have another watch or you want to share it, that's absolutely fine. And yeah, it was great to kind of meet you, and I hope you're all doing okay. You know, very much, we've got lots of other webinars coming up, both for teachers and careers advisors, but also for students. So, oh, someone from the Philippines, which is brilliant. Welcome. So yeah, so we've got lots of webinars coming up every Tuesday for teachers and careers advisors, and every Thursday from next week for students. So we will also send around a reminder of what we've got coming up so that you can kind of register and attend those as well. So thank you very much for your time. Wishing you all the best. Stay healthy and well, and we'll be in touch soon. Okay, bye-bye.